I stood by the edge of the rooftop bar, a glass of soda in hand, watching the skyline flicker with city lights. My sister, Amanda, was at the center of the room. Again. She wore a red satin dress that hugged her figure like confidence incarnate, hair curled to perfection, and heels that clicked like applause on every step. This was her night. Her promotion party. Senior marketing executive at Laveau and Lane. She made sure everyone in the room knew it. And here's to climbing the ladder faster than anyone said I could. She raised her glass, her voice cutting through the chatter. And to my little sister Laura, she added with a smirk. Still figuring it out, but hey, at least you're trying. Laughter followed. Polite, strained laughter. The kind that didn't know whether to join or cringe. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. The kind of smile you learn to wear like armor. She had always been like that. Ever since we were kids, Amanda needed to win. Needed to be seen, heard, celebrated. Me? I didn't need any of that. I liked building things no one could take apart. Ideas, code, systems that worked even when people didn't. But no one at this party knew that. To them, I was just Amanda's sister. The quiet one. The one who didn't go to networking events. Who wore plain clothes and showed up alone. A nobody. My mother came up to me a moment later, brushing invisible lint off my blazer. Why don't you mingle a little, sweetheart? Amanda's friends are all so well connected. You never know who might help you. Get on your feet. I'm not looking for help, Mom. I'm okay, I said gently. She sighed. You're always okay. That's the problem. No fire. That line stung more than it should have, but I didn't react, because I knew something they didn't, something that would change everything. 1 month earlier, I had signed a contract with a venture capital firm, one that backed my project. A SaaS platform designed to streamline HR compliance for mid-sized companies. I'd spent the last 2 years building it, line by line, in a tiny one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. No spotlight, no investors' dinners, just code, caffeine, and sheer willpower. The platform, called Veridex, had launched quietly, but within weeks gained traction. Then a mid-sized consultancy firm called Polaritech signed a licensing deal, followed by another, and another, including, as fate would have it, Laveau and Lane, Amanda's company. She had no idea, of course, because the public-facing name on the documents wasn't mine. I wasn't listed as CEO or founder. I had intentionally remained a silent partner, using a business development manager named Jordan as the front. I didn't want the noise. I wanted the work to speak. And now it was speaking loudly, just not in a language Amanda understood yet. Back at the party, she threw her arm around me for a photo. Say cheese, someone called. I smiled. She leaned in and whispered, just wait, Laura. One day you'll find your thing. Maybe. Until then, just enjoy being part of my story. I turned to her, still smiling. Maybe I already have. She blinked, confused, but the camera flashed and the moment passed. Afterward, I left early, walking alone through the cooling night air. My inbox buzzed. An update from Veridex. Our system had just gone live at Laveau and Lane. First department, marketing. The department Amanda now led. I stared at the screen, then tucked the phone into my coat pocket. A week later, Jordan forwarded an internal memo from Laveau and Lane. New HR system implemented. All departmental heads to approve payroll via Veridex platform. See attached staff training schedule. I didn't smile this time. I just sat back in my chair and let the silence soak in. Because the moment was coming. The one where Amanda would log in, ready to approve payroll. She'd see the footer watermark on every pay stub. And there, in small but unmistakable font, technology powered by Veridex Inc. Lead developer L. Brenner. And then she'd see it again, on her own paycheck. That night on the rooftop, she said I'd never be anything. What she didn't realize is that I already was. I just didn't need a party to prove it. It started with a notification. Just 2 weeks after Amanda's promotion party, I received a flagged access request through Veridex. The request had come from an IP registered to Laveau and Lane's internal server. A first-time user was poking around, likely a department head setting up their access. The system always pinged me when someone tried to override default permissions or explored admin settings too quickly. I opened the user ID. AM Green Senior Marketing Executive Role-Based Permissions. Level 3. Accessed files. Payroll report. Quarter-end adjustments. System overview. I stared at the screen for a long moment, lips parted slightly in disbelief. Amanda had entered the system. She'd clicked the wrong tab, or the right one, depending on how you looked at it. A tab labeled System Credits. Nothing sensitive, just a list of core contributors to the platform's architecture. One name stood out, bolded and anchored at the top. Lead Technical Architect, L. Brenner. My alias. A name she'd never heard before. But under the list of contributors, a tiny support tag hovered in light gray. For internal inquiries, contact laura.b@veridex.inc. No one was meant to look there, not unless they were curious. I leaned back in my chair, heart quietly racing. A strange feeling crept over me, somewhere between excitement and dread. Amanda wouldn't recognize the full picture yet. Not from that. But she'd seen something. And knowing her, that meant questions were coming. 2 days later, I stopped by our parents' house to drop off some documents for Dad. It was quiet inside, just the tick of the old hallway clock and the distant hum of the kettle. Amanda's voice echoed from the kitchen. She hadn't seen me yet. I'm telling you, Mom, it's the weirdest thing. The new system, Veridex, it lists someone named L. Brenner as the architect. But then the internal contact is some Laura B. I swear it's probably some glitch. I paused just outside the door. My mother chuckled. You're reading too much into it, darling. Laura couldn't build a toaster, let alone a tech system. Amanda laughed, but it wasn't cruel this time, just dismissive. Yeah, I guess. Still, it's just funny. The timing and everything. I stepped into the kitchen like I'd only just arrived. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Amanda spun, a little too fast, and knocked her elbow into the counter. Laura, hey, we were just talking about you. Good things, I hope. Of course, she smiled, all teeth. You've been quiet lately. Just busy, I replied. Work's been nonstop. She tilted her head. Still doing freelance coding and that startup thing? I nodded. Something like that. She didn't press further, but her eyes were scanning mine, flickering with something I hadn't seen before. Uncertainty. That evening, I logged into Veridex's backend system. A new request sat in the support queue. Subject: Verification of Platform Architect message. Can you confirm if L. Brenner is still active at Veridex? From a.green@laveauandlane.com, I didn't respond. I simply tagged it as resolved, then locked the inquiry thread. This wasn't about hiding anymore. It was about choosing the moment. The right moment. The following week, Amanda called me. Hey, got a minute? Her voice was casual, almost forced. Sure, I said, sipping tea on my balcony. You ever hear of a company called Veridex? I paused. Sounds vaguely familiar. Why? It's the new system we're using at work. It's solid. Clean interface, fast backend. Better than our last one, that's for sure. That's great. There was a pause. Do you know someone who works there? What makes you ask that? Another pause, longer this time. No reason, just wondered. I let the silence hang. Not heavy, just enough. Well, I hope it works well for your team. And that was it. She didn't bring it up again. But I knew Amanda. The moment she couldn't explain something, she obsessed over it. It wasn't in her nature to let go, and I wasn't going to make it easy. Because she needed to come to the truth herself, not through confrontation or exposition, but through discovery. She needed to see it. A few days later, I got a text from Jordan. Your sister submitted a request for full system analytics access. Want me to approve it? I stared at the message, then typed, "Let her in. She's looking for something." What happens when she finds it? I smiled. That's when the real story begins. It was a Wednesday afternoon when Amanda finally found what she'd been looking for. I was at a coffee shop near Capitol Hill, laptop open, sipping on a lukewarm latte while reviewing system logs. That's when the security alert came in. A user had accessed the protected company formation files within Veridex's architecture. Not restricted, just buried beneath layers of approval history, author credentials, and archived prototypes. The user, agreen@laveauandlane.com. Access location, Laveau and Lane headquarters. Time, 3:47 p.m. She had made it through. There was no aha moment on my end. No dramatic music, no gasp of victory. Just a quiet breath as I leaned back in my chair and watched the cursor blink beside her name in the audit trail. Amanda had opened the document titled Founders, Veridex Incorporated. 2 names, bold, centered. Laura Brenner, Chief Technical Architect, 51%. Jordan Marks, Director of Operations, 49%. Below that, the first system prototype document I'd uploaded 2 years ago, timestamped from my IP address. Project name, Athena. The original blueprint. And below that, the email logs, test messages, bug reports, updates, all from my address. She couldn't deny it now. I wasn't some background extra in her story. I had written my own. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't have to. I sat on the floor of my apartment, legs crossed, a soft instrumental playlist humming in the background as I stared at the city lights. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel the weight of it. The years of quiet labor, the loneliness, the decision to stay invisible. I thought of the countless family dinners where Amanda's achievements were celebrated in speeches and slideshow presentations. My milestones. They were usually met with polite nods. Still working on that tech thing? Let us know when you launch something. And now, she knew. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Amanda. Can we talk? I stared at the screen. 3 words. That's all it took to shake something loose inside me. Not because I feared her anger, but because I feared her denial. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to prove anything. I just wanted her to see me. We met at the Conservatory Cafe near our parents' house. Neutral ground. She was already seated, fingers wrapped around a cappuccino, sunglasses perched atop her head. When I approached, she looked up. Really looked, and her expression was unreadable. "Hi," I said. She nodded. "Hi." I sat down and waited. She took a slow breath. "So, you're the reason our payroll system actually works?" I didn't smile. "I guess you could say that." She shook her head, staring at the table. "You're the founder of Veridex. You own the system we use. The name on my paycheck, your system generated that." "Yes." Another pause. Then a breathy laugh. Tired, disbelieving. "And I've been walking around telling people you're still doing odd jobs from your bedroom." "You didn't ask," I said softly. "And I didn't need you to know." She looked up then, eyes sharp. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because I wasn't building it for applause, Amanda. I was building it because I believed in it. And maybe because I needed to prove it to myself first." Her jaw tightened. "You proved it to everyone." I sipped my tea. "Not to you." That landed. She flinched just a little, gaze dropping. "I mocked you at my party," she whispered. "I remember," I said. She pressed her lips together. "You just smiled. You didn't say a word." I was waiting. For what? For you to see the whole picture. We sat in silence, surrounded by the quiet clinking of plates and the distant hum of conversation. I didn't press her. I didn't need to. This wasn't about revenge. It never had been. It was about being seen. She leaned back. You should have told me. You wouldn't have listened. She nodded once, slowly. You're probably right. Then she laughed, just a little, and shook her head. God, I feel so stupid. I've been telling everyone I'm the successful sibling. And you are, I said, in your own way. She blinked at me. You don't even sound angry. I was, for a long time. But anger burns out. What stays is truth. Another long pause. Then she said, You could have crushed me. I looked at her. Why would I do that? I don't know, she muttered. Maybe because I deserved it. I exhaled slowly. Maybe. But maybe that's not the kind of story I want to tell. She glanced away, then back at me. So, what now? Now? That was a good question. One I wasn't ready to answer. But I knew one thing. She finally saw me. Something changed after that conversation at the cafe. Amanda didn't say much after our meeting, and I didn't expect her to. But I noticed the difference. Not in grand gestures, but in the small, subtle shifts. The kind that only someone who's been invisible long enough can recognize. She stopped flooding our family group chat with her usual, look what I did this week updates. She didn't tag me in tone-deaf job memes anymore. And at work, Jordan told me she'd started asking real questions about Veridex. Not as a suspicious outsider, but as someone curious to learn. She's quieter in meetings. He texted me one afternoon. Less performative, more thoughtful. I stared at that message longer than I probably should have. That weekend, our mom invited us over for dinner. A rare event these days, but she insisted. Said she missed seeing her girls in the same room without sarcasm flying like knives. I almost didn't go, but something told me I should. When I arrived, Amanda was already there. No designer heels this time, no red lipstick. She wore jeans and a navy sweater, hair in a simple braid. Hey, she said as I walked in. Hey, I replied. She didn't try to hug me, and I didn't try to avoid it. We just stood in the same space, and it felt okay. During dinner, my dad asked what we'd both been working on lately. Normally, Amanda would leap in with a well-rehearsed speech about campaigns, metrics, and her personal brand. But this time, she gestured toward me. Laura's the one you should be asking, she said. She's doing some incredible work. My fork paused midair. Our mother blinked. Oh? I kept my voice casual. Just some consulting. Tech-related. Amanda smiled slightly. You know that payroll system my company switched to? Laura built it. Dead silence. Dad looked up from his roast chicken. You built it? Amanda nodded for me. Veridex is hers. I didn't say anything. Our mom narrowed her eyes as if trying to remember a conversation she'd never had. But I thought you were still freelancing. I was, I said gently. Then I started something on the side. It grew. Amanda added, grew into something big. Really big. Dad scratched his chin. Wow, so you're, what? A tech founder? I nodded. Co-founder, but yes. There was a strange stillness in the room, like time itself had paused to adjust to a new narrative. For years, I'd been the other daughter, the quiet one, the maybe she'll figure it out one. Now they were staring at someone they thought they knew, but had never really looked at. After dinner, Amanda found me on the porch. The sky was deep violet, stars barely peeking through the suburban haze. She stood beside me, arms crossed, looking ahead. They're never going to fully get it, she said. I nodded. I know. But I do. I glanced at her. Yeah? She nodded. When I saw your name on that founder's document, I felt two things. First, shame. Because I'd mocked you for years without knowing the full story. Second, relief. Relief? I asked, surprised. Because for the first time, I realized you never needed me to validate you. You didn't wait around for anyone. You just built. Quietly. On your own terms. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. She added, "That kind of strength? I don't have it." "You have your own kind," I said. "You've always been driven, charismatic. That matters." She chuckled. "Maybe, but somewhere along the way, I started performing more than leading. I forgot the difference." I looked at her, really looked. "Why are you telling me this?" Amanda hesitated, then exhaled. "Because I want to change. And I think I want to start by actually listening. If you're willing to talk." There it was. The shift. Not just in tone, but in intention. "I'm willing," I said. She smiled. "Good, because I have a proposal." I raised an eyebrow. "What kind of proposal?" Amanda turned toward me, eyes steady. "Your company is launching that new analytics tool for internal leadership, right? I want to help, not for credit, just because I think I could learn a lot." I studied her face. There was no trace of ego, no slyness, just sincerity. "All right," I said. "Let's see what you've got." The next morning, I opened my inbox and found an email from Amanda. Subject line, "Proposal draft, Team Insight Integration Ideas." She had attached a PDF, 5 pages, detailed, focused, no fluff. At the bottom of the document, in small gray text, she'd written, "Built with inspiration from Laura Brenner." I sat back, stunned. Maybe she didn't just see me now. Maybe, for the first time, she was learning from me. 2 weeks after Amanda sent me her first proposal, I invited her to one of Veridex's internal strategy briefings. It wasn't open to outsiders, but I made an exception. The meeting was held in a modest glass conference room on the 12th floor of a downtown Seattle building. Nothing flashy. Just whiteboards, coffee, and a dozen sharp minds around a long table. These were the people who helped me build the backbone of the platform. People who didn't care about clout, only ideas. Amanda arrived 10 minutes early. She wore a simple blazer and dark pants. No loud accessories, no high heels echoing off the marble floors. Just a notebook, a pen, and a quiet kind of determination I'd never seen on her before. When she stepped into the room, a few people looked up, unsure who she was. She introduced herself with calm professionalism, never once mentioning her role at Laveau and Lane. She wasn't here as the spotlight-hungry sister anymore. She was here as someone who wanted to learn. I introduced her as a guest consultant for our upcoming employee insight tool. There was a brief silence before the room nodded in approval. Throughout the meeting, Amanda took notes, asked smart questions, gave 1 or 2 thoughtful suggestions, but never dominated the space. She didn't try to impress anyone. She was just present. Afterward, Jordan leaned over and whispered, "She's different than I expected." "Yeah," I murmured. "She is." That Friday, Amanda emailed me again. Subject, "About the Insight pilot." "Hey, I've been thinking about how most companies treat internal feedback as damage control instead of a growth strategy. I think we can flip that narrative, make it proactive. I drafted a few ideas. Let me know if you want to talk them through. And thanks again for inviting me. That team of yours? They're the real deal." I stared at her words, not because they were perfect, because they weren't, but because they were genuine, thoughtful, humble. This wasn't the same Amanda who used to toss around buzzwords like confetti at every dinner party. This was someone who had begun to see leadership as something earned, not assumed. The following week, we sat side by side in my apartment, poring over the beta design of the new Insight dashboard. I'd cleared my dining table and brought out 2 laptops. Amanda brought coffee and muffins from our favorite old cafe, the one we used to sneak out to in high school. There was a calmness in the room, a rhythm that surprised me. She didn't interrupt. I didn't retreat. We were collaborating. At one point, she leaned back in her chair and sighed. I used to think success meant being the center of attention. Now I'm realizing it's more about impact. Quiet impact. I looked up from my screen. That's a lesson most people never learn. She nodded, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I think it's why I always mocked you. Because deep down, I was afraid I couldn't build something real on my own. So I kept performing, hoping the applause would fill the silence I didn't know how to sit with. I didn't speak. I just listened. And when I saw your name on my paycheck, she continued, I felt my world tilt. Not because I was embarrassed, but because it made me question everything I thought I knew about value. I turned toward her. That means something's changing. She met my eyes. It is. Later that night, after Amanda left, I received an email from one of our investors. They'd reviewed the Insight pilot pitch and loved it. They asked to see the draft proposal that Amanda and I had worked on together. And the next day, I forwarded it. No edits, no rewrites. Just as it was. For the first time, Amanda's name appeared in a formal Veridex presentation under the section titled Strategic Co-Development. I didn't tell her immediately. I wanted her to find it on her own. 2 days later, she did. She called me breathless. Laura, why did you put my name on that? Because you earned it, I said. There was a long pause. Then, I've never had someone do that for me without expecting something in return. I don't expect anything, I replied. But I hope you keep going. Keep growing. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, I will. That weekend, our family gathered again, this time for our dad's retirement dinner. Amanda arrived with a soft smile and no grand entrance. She helped our mom set the table, made a joke that didn't punch downward. And when our uncle asked how work was, she didn't lead with her title. Instead, she said, I've been lucky to work with some incredibly smart people lately, including my sister. Everyone turned toward me. I blinked. She didn't say it loudly. She didn't need to. She just said it like it had always been true. 1 month to the day after Amanda's promotion party, I received an alert from Veridex's internal HR portal. Quarterly payroll finalized. All employee records updated. It was a routine notification, one I'd seen dozens of times. Except this time I paused, because I knew what was about to happen. Amanda would receive her first bonus under the new system. A system she had unknowingly stepped into, contributed to, and grown within. She'd open her payslip, scan the numbers, and at the bottom, right where her eyes would naturally land, she'd see it, generated by Veridex Systems lead technical architect, L. Brenner Quarterly. Oversight, Laura Brenner. No more aliases, no hidden initials, no silent backend, just me, as I am. That afternoon, I went to the office, not to work, just to be there. The day was quiet. Cloudy skies hung low over the city, and the office buzzed with soft keystrokes and the occasional laugh from the break room. I passed by Amanda's floor without stopping. I didn't need to see her open the file. I just needed to feel what it was like to no longer hide. Jordan met me in the hallway with a knowing grin. She saw it. I raised an eyebrow. And? She froze, he said, amused. Stared at the bottom of the page for a long time. Then printed it. I think she wanted to be sure it was real. I smiled faintly. Did she say anything? Not yet, but she will. That evening, my phone buzzed. Amanda. Are you home? Me. Yeah. Why? Amanda. Can I stop by? Me. Sure. 10 minutes later, she knocked. No pretense, no flowers or wine or grand speeches. Just Amanda in a hoodie and jeans, holding a printed piece of paper in her hand. She walked in and sat on the couch. This, she said, unfolding the payslip and placing it on the coffee table. This hit different. I sat down beside her. I knew it was you. She added. I just didn't expect to see you. Like this, right there. On something so permanent. I figured it was time, I said. She looked at me. You could have kept it anonymous, like before. I could have. But this wasn't about staying hidden anymore. Amanda leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. I kept reading your name, over and over, and I realized I was never the center of this story. Not the way I thought. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. You built something extraordinary, she whispered, and I mocked you. For years, I thought I was winning while you were just floating. But you weren't floating. You were rising. Quietly. She turned to me, eyes glassy. I don't know if I can ever make up for that. You don't have to, I said. This wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. She nodded slowly. Still, thank you. For the chance. For not throwing it in my face. I didn't need to, I replied. You saw it for yourself. She exhaled, then reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. I was going to give this to you eventually, but now feels right. Inside was a handwritten note. Laura, you didn't need to show up to prove your worth, but you did anyway, and now I see what I refused to for too long. You're not a nobody. You're the compass I never knew I needed. I'm learning because of you, and I'm proud to call you my sister. Amanda. I folded the note gently, placing it on the table. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We just sat there. Two grown women, no longer measuring value by volume, no longer fighting for the same spotlight. A few weeks later, Veridex hosted a small event to showcase the new Insight dashboard Amanda had helped co-develop. She stood beside me during the presentation, introducing her portion with calm authority. When she finished, she turned to the audience and said, None of this would have happened without Laura. She saw something in me before I saw it in myself. Applause followed, but I barely heard it. Because in that moment, I wasn't thinking about vindication or closure. I was thinking about how growth is rarely loud. It's quiet, unfolding behind closed doors, in late-night realizations and silent acknowledgments. On a quiet Sunday, we found ourselves back at the same rooftop bar where it all began. No party this time. Just the two of us. 2 drinks, 1 shared story. Amanda raised her glass. To the sister I once underestimated, she said softly. And to finally seeing the whole picture. I clinked mine against hers. To both of us, where we've been, and where we're going. We didn't need to say more, because the truth had already done all the speaking.